Senate Republicans are now facing some pretty widespread criticisms from their colleagues over cutting even more from Medicaid in their version of Trump's budget bill than the House did. And here is Josh Hawley talking about this topic. He said, "I had no idea that they were going to completely scrap the House framework like this. This totally caught me by surprise." And I've talked to other senators, and that's what I've heard consistently from everybody I've talked to. And he has, as we've pointed out, he has repeatedly talked about how rural hospitals and people in rural areas will be wrecked by this. He said no one was expecting this entirely new and crueler, I'm adding that, framework. And so him and others in the Senate have been complaining that the House version already goes too far. And that hasn't seemed to have gotten through to Republican Senate leadership. The head of the Senate Finance Committee chair, Mike Crapo, is doing a crapo job, as he characteristically does in this particular case. And that's not only bad, like it's not only bad for our budget, it's not only bad for the people, we're gonna lose access to this. Also, again, with how wildly unpopular this is, be bad for the Republican Party long term. But again, as much as we've always believed politicians will do anything to stay in power, we have found something they care about more. Money. A huge infusion of tax cuts is more important than your career, apparently. But it isn't just Hawley. Lisa Murkowski also said this: "I'm still not satisfied with where we are on Medicaid." She called it a priority she wants to address. Well, yeah, why would you be satisfied? It's worse than it is in the House. So again, this is the bare minimum of understanding. This is what we get. She's questioned whether states like Alaska will have enough time to implement sweeping changes, such as a requirement that adults with dependent children older than 14 show that they work, attend school, or perform community service for 80 hours a month. Susan Collins flagged changes to states' use of healthcare provider taxes as a major concern. She said she wants to see many changes made to the bill before it comes to the floor. "This is still a work in progress. I'm still asking for many changes." And by the way, there has been one change. So we've been talking about how much this is going to boost the deficit. Apparently it's worse than we thought. A new analysis from the CBO says it's $2.8 trillion. Before we thought it was $2.4 trillion. So just an additional $400 billion, okay? That is now including the dynamic effects of all they're doing to wreck our country. So that's a lot of fun. And as we discuss this, feel free if the TD wants to put up, you got your polling showing how wildly unpopular this bill already is. And remember, they're actively making it worse than it was when these people were polled. Sharon, thoughts?
Look, they're spending like crazy, just like wild, like worse than new money and a Real Housewife. Like it's literally that bad. They do not care. We've always known that this country needs to balance its budget and still take care of things. And we could do that and take care of everyone in it if people weren't so damn greedy. I was still depending on some of these senators on the right who are fiscal hawks, and I don't agree with this. I thought like this would be the one thing, not our wombs, not anything else, not human rights, but this would be the one thing that they would take a stand on. I want just kick all the bums out, starting with beady-eyed Mike Johnson. Okay, these aren't. They're not who they said they were. In any way, okay, and they can leave the Bibles out of this too. Okay.
That would be great.
Leave them out.
Can I make you feel a little bit better? Based on the last 10 years or so, there's no way that this ends well for Mike Johnson in terms of his career. He's already made a ton of money. He's gonna be perfectly fine. He doesn't have to work another day in his life or whatever. But at some point, he's gonna fail Trump or something, and he's gonna be utterly destroyed, and he's gonna be cast out. Or at the very least, the midterms are gonna go so terribly that, barring the National Guard manipulating the results of the election or whatever, which now looks like a better than 50-50 chance, he's not gonna be the House Speaker for much longer. So at least we have that.